Okay, Nasser's Christmas Morning Massacre. If your wheelhouse is like the old slasher fix and things like that, then you'll be right at home here. Because most horror stuff starts off like, yes, this is a little bit of the mundane life of these characters before everything goes horribly wrong. And just doing a quick setup with the opening, it's like, yes, here's the mysterious legend of why were these girls killed, that sort of thing. Which in most of these kinds of setups, you will have that one deranged psycho kind of killer. And honestly, in looking at his stuff here, this is a way you can learn a setup of like writing legitimately like short contained stories. Instead of big sprawling 2,000-page epics. um, and nowadays, I don't have as much time to dive into all those sorts of things. I do try, but yeah, sometimes it's just fun just seeing how do you build up some suspense. Again, with horror, the suspense is mainly like which character is going to get out alive. And yes, you could use various tropes to set things up, but then usually with most of these horror setups, you try to see how clever the characters can be sometimes, or take bets on who gets the axe first, I guess. But with this particular um, with this particular setup, it's mostly gonna be. I have a feeling he's gonna target the women first. Just the feeling. And of course, like with any kind of horror setup, you'll initially have a character notice like something is amiss. Oh, why is that there? Why is that disturbed? For whatever reason, I'm noticing the absolute little tiny detail there, because again, that's kind of like the prelude to like, it's not as cozy as you think in this place. Oh my. And yes, making the house all creaky on purpose. Yeah, yep. Because there's like the initial setup where the various characters are like walking around the house, exploring it and everything, or and they scare each other, of course. Again, he has a very set path for this, which is just fine. Usually, most horror setups, will use the mundane to offset like the sheer amount of crazy that will happen later. It's like it's all perfectly normal. Yes, we're not at DEF CON chainsaw just yet. Well, and I won't go over too much more of the story for right now, just because I want people to read it. But I like the fact that you don't see too much of the villain. The actual killer. You see like little bits from his point of view every once in a while. But honestly, I think in most horror stories, if you don't really understand much of the motivation or beyond like he's a crazy psycho, I think that works out better for like slasher horror like this. The villain doesn't need a big modus operandi. They just do abject evil. Even in older horror movies like that, back when I was going more towards leaning into like, oh yes, what kind of like overall high tension stuff can I get into. Now I'll still read certain things every once in a while, but like you all know, most of my focus is going into even my serial, so that's just how it be at the moment. But if you're looking for very good slasher horror, I would say pick up Nasser's books. He understands the vibe very well. Most of the time, horror has a fairly straightforward payoff. You get to basically see who's the last person standing kind of deal. And right now, based on what I could see from the characters, again, not going to spoil much of the story, but a bunch of kind of like late teens, mid-20s kind of people with their kind of college mindsets and the beer pong versus the crazy guy in the house that's peeking at them through strategically placed eye holes. I don't think it's gonna go too well for them. Just saying. And the fact that he pretty much knows the layout of the house, you could tell from a few narrative cues, like the frozen footprints in the room. He knew how to get around that house while they were sleeping, and not even disturb them. That adds into the other layer of if you want personal stakes in your horror, where you get that tension from will they or won't they die. Well, there you have it, people. Oh man. But yeah, like at this point, I'd say what he has going on is for for the price that it is. Like, yeah, I'm more than happy with it. Even if it's not my main wheelhouse, like I said, even this place, YouTube needs more variety. It probably needs to try to help cater to westerns, to more horror. Like for me, if I am gonna read horror, it does help me understand like what people want to see, like with more like existential dread sometimes, or just straight up, it's something like a adrenaline effect where it's like, oh god, who's going to be able to get out alive? But like I said before, I usually have to take a break from a lot of things just to seesaw back and forth, because I'm not the type of person that will key into onto berserk level stuff too often. Probably in my mid-20s, yeah, it was more when I took that dip. But if horror is your main wheelhouse and you dearly love it, give Nasser a try. Seriously, he's firing on all cylinders with this thing. Like, how do you say that word? Juxtaposition of happy Christmas tunes in a creepy old house with these oblivious poor people. Yeah, because no, it's not going to end well for them. So yeah, if you want to read it, it's like 80 pages. It's a nice quick read during a lunch break, depending on how fast you read. And I'll be here waiting for the rest of them to hit. I pretty much pre-ordered the rest of them anyway. So there you go. It's always important to have shorter stories, just because that's how the pulps did it, and it helped people that had regular working jobs catch up with stories and stay entertained. Have a good day, everybody.